going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gamers for Life podcast. We're each and every Friday/Saturday discussing all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell. With me is my co-host, Arthur Thomas. What's up, man?
Not much, John. Looking for a Friday. It was busy work week this week.
Yeah. Well, I always appreciate you being here. And of course, we got my man Church in the building. What's happening, man?
Just chilling too. Busy work week as Arthur said too, as well. I saw Ant-Man last night, so nice. I went to the theaters, spent some cash on it. And other than that, man, just still on the FF14 grind.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
With how much time you spent at theaters, would you have rather spent the time playing Final Fantasy 14?
No, man. You gotta have the rain to appreciate the sunshine. At the end of the day, you gotta step away. Nah,
I'm just saying, because there's been some movies I've gone to, I'm like, I could have leveled up twice by now.
I've had a few of those, yeah, where the movie's just so bad you walk out, you're just like, I could have fucking been at level X.
Dude, Drell and I fell asleep during that second Star Wars movie, the one with the gambling, where they go to the gambling planet.
Oh yeah, the eighth one. Yeah.
Yeah, we fell asleep. We fell asleep during that.
The Last Jedi, is that what it's called? Yeah. You guys fell asleep during that movie?
I think The Last Jedi was I'm lost on the numbers of Star Wars, but I think it's the third of that
8
particular trilogy. Yeah.
No, that's Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You're right. That scene was terrible. That if we want to talk about scenes where you could have just cut that entire shit out and it wouldn't have changed the film, that scene.
Well, the whole movie was terrible. Like, you could have done anything. You had the whole universe. You could have gone anywhere, but you decided to stay in space and do a chase scene. It's so bad, man. Bro, as a Star Wars fan, I could talk about it for days.
Yeah.
All I know is I could have spent that time playing Knights of the Republic, being Artist Fartist, the great Sith Lord.
I really want that remake to come out. I need it to happen.
Isn't it going through development hell right now? Right?
I think so.
Right.
The only game that would have got me to buy a PS5.
Yeah, Arthur said that out of his mouth. I was like, what?
I immediately Googled it. I was like, if I Google, is this remake an exclusive? I'm about to take a picture of Drill. I was like, look at my shopping cart. There's a PS5 in it. Let's go.
Oh, okay. The Old Republic would be the game. Dang, that's good.
Especially because I just rebeat
like
it.
My PS5 buying machine that I would have chosen.
Which
Kingdom
one?
Hearts series, Kingdom Hearts 4, bro.
Oh, that was coming on Xbox, so I didn't need to buy an exclusive. That Kingdom Hearts 3 was an exclusive, but because remember the remake got announced at a Sony conference, so I thought it was an exclusive, and I was like, and Drill knows I just rebeat the Old Republic on because it's still on the store right now, and I just beat it, and 2 weeks later they dropped that, and I was like, I'm buying a PS5 today, but nope.
Yeah, sad day there. But if you are watching us, hello, be sure to like, subscribe on the channel for the Games Live podcast on YouTube. Definitely would appreciate that. A lot of great videos. I was talking about games, and also our audio episodes. You can check those out on the streaming service of your choosing when it comes to listening to podcasts. And if you want to check out Arthur's streams, again, on our channel for the YouTube for Gamers for Life, and anything else in between that or all around that, you can go to linktree.com/Gamers for Life. That's the number one-stop shop link to all of our content. Linktree.com/Gamers for Life, the number 4 life. And here at the Gamers for Life podcast, we read the news while you can listen to what you choose by clicking on the links of the time code within the description of the episode. So you can just click to what you want to listen to, or you can just hang out with us here at the Gamers for Life podcast. And first topic today here, Arthur was sending me some links on just looks like some gamer drip, if you will, or attire as far as for some wear there. So go ahead and the floor is yours on that.
Dude, I mean, okay, so I don't know how new this is, but I was going through Instagram and smart cookies, Instagram sent me an ad for Destiny shoes. The company is Palladium. So Palladium has partnered with Destiny. They come out with two or four pairs. I can't tell because they look slightly different. I want to say 4 pairs. And then around the same time, because Smart Cookies, if you get one ad, when I get another one, I thought this is hilarious. Again, I don't know how new this is. This is just something that's come across my feed. I really haven't seen people mention it, but I think it's hilarious. Minecraft has paired with Crocs. And and the funny thing is, like, ironically, I've heard people say nothing but good things about Crocs. And so now the fact it's like, Xbox and Mojang is like linked with it. I just think that's hilarious. I just think that's hilarious.
It's the
So
Destiny shoes for people.
those are the Palladium Destinies right there. I think for me, if I were to buy any of those, it'll be at the top right, because the bottom two are just proper, like, for me, those are boots. Those are just straight up boots of like the ratio of height between heel to the top of the tongue. And then so there's 4 Minecraft Crocs and then 1 like sandal, because Crocs also does sandals. And I've never owned Crocs, but again, I've heard nothing but good things. So for people that are like me on the fence of actually owning a Croc, you can still get a Minecraft Croc sandal. I just thought that was hilarious. I like official partnerships. I respect Etsy, stuff like that. But when we actually see, like, 1, official partnerships, and 2, they're done right, I think it's a great combination. That just made my week of just random ads. So I'm like, you know what? For this ad, thanks for showing it to me. This made my day.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, you were showing me those Crocs, and I was like, these are ugly, but the fact that they're official Crocs and merging with the companies, I thought that was pretty interesting. What were your thoughts on that, Church? Did you get the chance to check that out?
Yeah, man, I've seen the Crocs. I think they kind of look ugly, but I love the fact that we have in, like, video game of these type of IPs having attire crossovers.
Yeah.
This is like, Minecraft is not for me, but like I bought like some James Bond, like Adidas type shoes. So it's like for an audience members, like I do buy these type of things when it comes to attire. Recently I think Reebok did a Street Fighter one, right? I don't know if you guys seen that one.
Oh, that sounds fire.
They did a crossover with Street Fighter. So that's been going on. You can cop those, and those shoes look pretty dope. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So I will go Destiny, even though I hate Destiny. It's love-hate relationship, but I like those boots, man. I might have to pick me up a pair. So,
Yo, man, if they come out with some type of a Starfield collaboration, I might be enticed to go for it. I don't know how I'm gonna wear them, because my wife's gonna be like, "What the fuck are those in your feet?" But I might have to cop those and just put them in the box. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, you do, man. You can find the outfits. Like, just buy the shoes. You got the clothes later.
Yeah,
exactly. I was like, dude, just kind of have that, like, irrational girl mentality. Buy the shoes and just figure the rest out later. Like, something I'll eventually buy, something I'll match with it. But so that's why I'm justifying it, buying it now. Boom. Flip the script, Gerald. Flip the script. I'm sure the conversation will go great.
Oh no, my friend. Unfortunately, that's not the case in real life. But if there's any old school, if there's something that I would buy that it's worth the argument for, is some type of an old school PlayStation limited edition, like, shoe or something like that, like the gray with like the yellow and the red, like I'm copping that shit. Dude, I'm buying that. I'm arguing with the wife. I'm doing everything because I gotta have those goddamn shoes, because that's a part of my life. PlayStation is, PlayStation 1, 2. Oh man,
no
man.
I just realized you're kind of tempting me, or like I'm kind of tempted myself, because I'm going to a bar. I'm gonna get a haircut tomorrow morning at my barber, who's next door to a GameStop. And,
oh, nice.
And there's anything GameStop's known for nowadays, it's not games.
Yeah,
they're not known for games. They're known for like everything else: lamps, Funko Pops, shirts. Exactly. It's a Funko Pop and an accessories machine. So I might, again. So I do have one functioning thing. I do need a thermos. It's cold. I'm used to doing graveyard shifts. It's my favorite. I still say I was the most productive in life I've ever been. And I did years of graveyard, and now I have to, even though it's from home, I work. I have to work at 7:30 now. So I'm drinking more tea, I'm drinking more coffee, so I do need a thermos. So if I can tie in a functional item with, geek it out a little bit, hey, GameStop, you might actually get my money again.
There you go. I've realized how much a proper chair just it changes my entire work productivity. Like I had a shit chair for months. This is my gaming chair, but it just went to shit. And like I got a new chair, and man, I feel like I can just work like hours on end. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how like productive a good chair is. So wild stuff. Man, hey, anything that would potentially cause an argument with you and your lady church, but you'd have to cop as far as like gaming attire? It seems like she's already supporting you with the those amazing stickers on your PS5. So.
Oh yeah, man. Well, see, my lady loves to spend some money, So, but she's also very nutty. So, like, that's not an argument. If she wants to buy video game attire stuff, she's just all for it.
Nice.
I was even like, not going to buy a PSVR2, right? It's like, I don't know if I want to get it. And she was like, no, I kind of want to get it. So I'm like, all right, now we're going to get the PSVR2.
Easy peasy,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah, she fully supports anything like that. So
that's awesome. One of my favorite conversations at GameStop was when I was talking to a customer, and he was like, man, they think that having a gamer girl is like the best thing ever. He's like, bro, it's the worst thing ever. He's like, she's been in sweats for a month. She never goes outside.
No.
She's been playing Fallout for hundreds of hours. Like I was dying, bro. I was like, that is so funny, because like in our mind we're all like, yeah, like gamer girl crazy, but sometimes if it goes too deep, it's like, yo, this is crazy.
You just think it's gonna be. You think your day is gonna be just full of uwus and just full of everything, just full of sweats and Cheeto dust.
You try to get the intervention. You're like, yo, like this is on my console.
That's where you got to buy two, man.
Yeah, exactly. Multiple consoles in the house.
That's why I got two PS5s, two Xboxes, two Switches. It just, man, you got to do it. But it's fun. I think right now we're playing like It Takes Two. Right now we're playing that whole game together. So.
Oh, okay. That's a good Valentine's game.
That game is so fun. That game is so fun. Hey, Game of the Year 2021.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Got to finish that up before Diablo 4 comes out, because we're trying to hop on that together.
There you go, baby. Get on my fantasy card. Oh, and speaking of that, just to kind of get an update before we go into the state of games for this year, Arthur's leading the way, 14 points. Slight adjustment to the Open Critic, but still leading the way, 14 points.
I'll still take it.
Not over yet.
Hey, I'll still take it, man. This was a blind, dude. Me picking up Hogwarts was like a blind trade. It was not a safe thing. I wasn't even planning on buying it. I thought it was to be a sip of combat made for kiddos game. So hey, if I went down from 15 to 14, I'll take it. Now if it starts going down more, you might hear my tone change, but yeah, for now, Hogwarts, do me proud.
It was just cracking me up, because there's a point in time where you were like, man, like fuck, like I'm not buying another game again, like, blase, and then
dude, I wasn't going to buy AAA. I was done in pre-orders. But yeah. Just let people know, I pre-ordered the deluxe edition for Hogwarts. I have not pre-ordered of a game period in years.
So wait, you got the shit too that comes with it?
No, not the collectors, like the deluxe, like the digital stuff that comes with the Dark Arts pack and stuff like that. So there was like vanilla game. So there's vanilla game, deluxe edition, which is like all the in-game content, and then the collector's edition comes all the physical stuff. No, I'm not there yet. the last time I did that,
Dead Island might do that for you. Dead Island 2.
You have to get the collector's edition for Dead Island 2, bro.
Yeah, man.
Okay, well, here's the thing, because collector's edition means physical copy, and dude, I have been team digital pre-order for years. Like, I'm like the thought, like the idea of pre-ordering a game now and having it fully downloaded, so come 9:01, or in this case 10:01 Central Time, boom, I just launched the game, versus going to a place, picking it up, coming back, installing the game, day one update. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm still hard. I'm still hard very much on team digital pre-orders, because man, that's just great. Like I said, back home in Cali, Pacific time, 9:01 p.m. Boom, I'm on the game. Let's go.
Yeah, man, that's actually kind of surprising that you team digital, Arthur, because like the way we talk about how companies are like always trying to nickel and dime you, the gamer, trying to extract money. It's like if we go fully digital, they control like the market in terms of game sales. Like there is no GameStop, right? So I figured you would be like hardware, everything. I need my hard copy, so I could buy it from $3 at GameStop.
I mean, like, again, like here's the thing too. Like, again, it's just a convenience. Like I've worked enough midnight launches. I've ran enough midnight launches. Like,
yeah,
like it's just convenient. It's just very convenient. It's just very convenient to me, especially because depending what game you buy, data compression doesn't exist. Like if you have a day one Xbox One, you can't even install Call of Duty. You know what I mean? So again, the downloading is, it's never a fast process. I think maybe it was Grand Theft Auto 6, Grand Theft Auto 5, I should say. That might have been my last hard copy game. It's just the convenience, the convenience of it, of just boom, go, versus running an errand, going outside, doing all this stuff, come back, versus just like, hey, I had this downloaded weeks ago. I just downloaded months ago.
And that's it. And just, I guess this is an interesting conversation, but before we go into just like what's going on so far for this year, but it's an interesting thing because like midnight launches were like literal like events. Like I remember like families and stuff standing in line, like GameStop would have like tournaments or whatever, food would be available, a gamer truck would be out. It would be a whole ass thing like for like the community. But now when it comes to just obviously that digital age, just like the convenience was there, but it just kind of changed the whole diameter of that thing, right? So it's just kind of wild how that happens. And then I remember when they first started doing the digital stuff or whatever, like downloading digital on a PS3 is fucking a nightmare. like I remember I even remember buying like the first Uncharted was like in the greatest hits, like $10 or whatever. And my brother like, all right, let's do it. We put it in. Oh, there's an update. Oh, it's 50 gigs. Oh, I'm not doing this. Like it was just a fucking nightmare.
The Sony store, from what I've heard not good things about the Sony store and download speeds from there. I really haven't run into that too much with Xbox, or at least I've become used to it. The rule, it's like either just watch YouTube or just don't play a multiplayer game, or do the whole standby mode where you can download it when it's off. So cool, you can't play it now, but when you fall asleep or whatever, you have to go take a shower, get groceries or something, you come back, it's done. But I have heard consistently the Sony store, the jet engine PS3.
Oh yeah, PS3 specifically. Now it seems to be a little more normalized. Because I was playing PS5 at my friend's studio yesterday, and download speed was pretty quick, But yeah, PS3 fucking nightmare, fucking nightmare. So
yeah, I just think the convenience with preloading just kind of changed the culture around the midnight releases. Because I've been a victim of like, yo, I'm gonna buy this game, hard copy, I'm gonna pick it up tomorrow, and the reviews come out. And I'm like, dang, this game's amazing. And then I'm looking at my PlayStation. I could get it tonight at 9:00, or I could pick it up from the store. And I hit that 9:00 download, wait an hour, and start gaming. So that's how my digital collection starts. I just impatient.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say I want to say two. I can't think of the, but I remember twice. I remember twice having the buzzkill moments where me and the boys were all online. We're all ready to go. We've all come back from the store. I mean, this is online, so I don't mean like we all live together. I mean like, like Long Beach, other homie in LA, other homie in Canada, other homie, Northern California, and we're all back. We're all online, and like we're all just checking with each other. Dude, I'm only like 20%. And this was back when it was midnight. Like back when midnight went midnight. I'm like, dude, it's like 2 a.m. Guys, it's. I mean. You know what I mean? Just like you just
Yeah.
buzz, it's just a buzzkill moment of like you think like midnight lunch, and that kind of got a little better with the 9 o'clock thing, but still that did happen. That did happen where it's like, stuff comes up and you're like X time and you're just like, and that hype, that buzzkill, it's just dying out, and you're just like, and then it starts. Somebody has to start the conversation. So like, bro, I'll be honest, I'm getting a little tired. I mean, let's just be real. I don't know if I even have enough to make it through the prologue because we all know if it's a cooperative game, there's gonna be a prologue. You gotta do the prologue before you can get to the multiplayer. And if so the more we're thinking about it, like, okay, if it takes X time to download this, and it takes X time to download prologue, I mean, like, dude, I got back like 9:45. I might be able to start a cooperative thing at midnight. I'm just like, I've been like, I can't be in hype mode not playing for 3 hours straight.
Right.
So it was those buzzkill. It was just those buzzkill moments that really leaned me over to digital pre-ordering.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny. I feel like we're in the eye of the hurricane right now because Hogwarts just came out. It's doing incredibly well. We got some games around the corner. Atomic Heart around the corner, February 21st. Obviously Dead Island coming out in April. Week after that, Jedi Survivor.
Dude, I just talking about the highlights of my team. I mean, we're 3 for 3. They're all my team. Atomic Hearts.
You all with me. Yakuza game that comes out on the 21st too, Joe. What is this? Like, what type of shades going on?
No, you're right. My bad.
This is appreciation of all things good, which is Atomic Heart.
Hey, Arthur's gonna blow his load early, and then I'm gonna come in and get all of my games to come out. Pause. But as I was saying, I was like, Jesus Christ, girl. So with that being said, I guess just like I'll start with you, Church. How do you feel about 2023 so far? I feel like this, and I was telling Arthur this many episodes ago, as far as I feel like 2023 is going to be the year that we've been waiting for when it comes to games. You know what I mean? That's definitely going to make up for for last year. What are your thoughts so far?
I mean, there's a lot of promise in 2023, and especially after a dry 2022. There's a lot of things coming. I think it's more pronounced for Xbox. I think Xbox at the last E3, the 12 months period, like we have these games coming. And they do have a pretty solid stack year for first party exclusives, right? With Redfall, Starfield, possibly Diablo 4, Wulong Dynasty on Game Pass, even Monster Hunter they have on Game Pass. So it's promising going forward. PlayStation, I don't know. What is the 2023 release for PlayStation, right? We've heard Spider-Man is coming out, right? And we haven't heard any news. We haven't seen any trailers. I think in the E3 in 2021, they said Spider-Man 2 was supposed to come out in 2023. But I don't think they have anything else on the lineup. Nintendo's throwing everything behind Zelda, and maybe that's enough. So to me, 2023 is kind of underwhelming when it comes to Nintendo and Sony. I feel like I'm going to be eating good at Xbox, be game at Xbox, and then I'll be okay. Oh my God, hold on. This is like Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16. There's a lot of games. I don't know how I'm going to play these all, bro. I don't know.
It is a lot. No, you're absolutely right, man. And that is a really good point. I think Sony, we don't really know, like, as far as the things that are specifically like Sony, like, we're waiting for one. Besides Final Fantasy 16, I don't know what else is going to be available for them. I mean, you have there's the Horizon, that Horizon game that's for PSVR2, but besides that, it's like I'm really not, and Amazing Spider-Man. I'm not sure what else. Oh, and just to big you up on the fantasy card, my apologies. David Martinez. So Octopath Traveler, it's leaning at an 86 for OpenCritic, and Like a Dragon Ishin, which is funny because I watched a kind of funny video where they're talking about it, and that one's leaning at an 82. So you're already looking at 28 points, average 28 points potentially projected. So yeah, which is pretty good. So we'll see with the upcoming weeks here. But Arthur, give me your thoughts on 2023, man. Do you think this is finally the year we've been fucking waiting for as far as getting some solid games throughout the year, man?
That to answer your question verbatim, is this the I said that, I immediately forgot exactly what you said. But is this the year we're looking forward to? Is this the year
it was a tragedy. What's the question?
It was like, dude, wait, what? But yeah, but pretty much what I was going with when you said that is this the year we if the game's coming out we've been waiting for. Biasly, I don't care. I'm happy. Boom, Kid on Christmas, Dead Island 2. Like for me, if that game is good, Dead Island 2 is already going to make the year for me. Like I'm playing Dying Light, and remember, so Dead Island 1 and Riptide was Techland and Deep Silver.
Right.
Split, now Dying Light, and I'm already my head glitching out. I'm already playing Dying Light, and the gore, the fighting, everything about it, it's already making me hot for Dead Island. And I know it's not the same team. I know it's not exactly the same, developer there, but again, you can just feel like how Dead Island did become Dying Light, and a lot of that combat, the similar style we've seen in Dead Island, kind of the Dying Light 2. I'm hyped for Dead Island, man. Like again, that game alone is like just making me so excited. Atomic Heart, which is the game guys, it's not like BioShock. Gameplay comes out, guys, we got Russian BioShock. Like that's you just can't not link the two. I'm sorry if you have like a powerful hand in this and like crazy stuff happening in front of it, like, oh, it's BioShock. And then also we got 9 minutes of gameplay. Those 9 minutes of Jedi Survivor look clean. Like they look good.
Oh, you smoking? I don't know what you're talking.
I'm looking forward to it.
We have a disagreement.
Smoking, bro. You saw that man run? His animation run looked kind of I don't know, bro.
I was happy with it. I wasn't looking at the run. I was looking at the combat. I'm curious still of what difficulty that they were playing on, because Jedi Survivor is a Souls-like game. It absolutely is. You meditate instead of campfire. You meditate. When you meditate, like the Souls campfire, enemies respawn. So, and like Souls, when you die, all your currency, I forget what the equivalent was in that game, XP, I forget what they called it, you lose it. It's like in Souls. So when I saw that, I was gauging the difficulty, because again, if you play like Battlefront or any other like crazy just stampede kill streak of a game, and then play Jedi Fallen Order will humble you very quickly. And so I can't speak to like too much animation, but what I saw is we have double-bladed lightsabers, which I wanted. They kind of had that like as a move. That's the other thing, like because I played Knights of the Republic, like a free open, choice-based, play your character type of Star Wars RPG. So where Survivor, it felt limiting, but it's a different game. So I was okay with that. It's a different style. But from what I saw, I'm happy. I was just curious of the difficulty sliders they had for that gameplay.
I mean, I'm glad they have more stances in the next Jedi game, right? I think they had 2 in the previous one. Now I think they have a total of 5, so that gives some variation to the gameplay. I love Fallen Order. I did everything in that game. I've got all the achievements I completed, so I'm excited for the sequel. But the animation looks a little bit janky, but like I don't know, would it matter? The first game was janky in itself, right? If you guys remember when it first released, it was pretty bad. But it was still a fantastic game. So I mean, I think thinking about it, Jared, go back to your question. 2023 has a lot of promise. I'm looking excited. It's Diablo 4, it's Final Fantasy, it's Jedi, Redfall. There's another game. There's another big game coming out in the summer. What is it? It's like
Starfield.
Did they announce the release date for Starfield?
I think that's gonna be in the fall. Definitely.
I'm just trying to guess on what the other big game in the summer you're thinking of.
Yeah,
I think because it goes Breath of the Wild.
Spider-Man 2 should probably be on the summer, right? I mean, I would imagine that would be on the summer. I don't think they have a release date for it. Spider-Man 2.
Oh, Spider-Man.
Marvel Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation. I don't know. I know Street Fighter is the June, so that's gonna be in summertime, which I hope to God that it does well.
They announced a date for Liza P yet, which is another game. I'm excited. Liza P.
Another gameplay just got dropped for that. I was just talking to Cork about that. Look at it now. Nope. Still 2023.
Yeah, it's still
Okay.
It does look good though. From what I've seen, I was like, ooh. So
Dude, who of all the random IPs to go public, who knew Pinocchio was like going to come out of nowhere swinging? That's why we got like 3 Pinocchio movies in 1 year.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting, right?
We got Tom Hanks, we got
Guillermo's,
and we got the Russian one that had Drill. Church, help me.
I don't know.
The guy, the actor, of son-in-law, an annoying 90s guy. I gotta look it up. But fun fact, there is another Pinocchio movie that came out. It's notoriously bad. It's hilariously bad. Don't pay for it. If you've seen a line, you still won't get your money's worth.
Interesting. Yeah, but I think after what you guys have said, 2023 is starting to. It's even that we're like 2.5 months into the year. The games that have already come out have already shown promise. Like finally chugging to push these titles out. Hogwarts alone, like I'm really surprised how good Hogwarts is. I mean, I was watching Arthur play it, and I was like, this looks pretty fucking solid. You know what I mean?
The combat is surprisingly good. It's that's why I was never going to buy the game, because I'm like, this is a game for Hogwarts fans and not gamers. And then I get it, and I'm like, we have a game. I saw the gameplay. I'm like, we got a game. The combat, there's combos. It's no Souls. It's no Platinum Games. It's not Bayonetta. But I mean, for what I was expecting from a Hogwarts IP, it's good.
And this is a game that we were thoroughly concerned about. Right? We thought it was going to be another Last of the Guardian situation. We're like
10 years in the making.
Yeah, 10 years in the making. Dog shit. You know what I mean? So like that surprised me. Hi-Fi Rush is super dope. I'm hearing Wild Hearts is really good, which is basically, that's probably what you put into the chat, Church. You're like, Monster Hunter? Because it's basically like Monster Hunter with a different skin on it. But I hear it's a really good game. I hear it's fucking solid. So I'm like, damn, like I kind of want to play that one. Don't want to pay $70, but
Monster Hunter Rise on Game Pass, baby.
But there's already like mad like games coming out that seem really good, so I'm very excited for this year. I think I haven't been more excited in quite some time as far as just being a gamer. Sony still needs to win my heart back. And it hurts because like PS2 is my favorite console of all time. They still need to win my heart on me actually owning a console because they don't deserve my money right now. So I'd just rather be on PC. But yeah, as far as just games in 2023, man, I'm really excited.
Yeah, really PS5 excited. For me is just a Final Fantasy 14 game to me, playing machine.
Right. Yeah.
So it really is, because you can't play FF14 on Xbox. I'll try to find it for Xbox, but you can't for some reason. And bullshit. So how do you guys feel about Game Pass? Like, I feel like the releases for Game Pass have slowed down, and maybe it'll pick up throughout the year when Xbox starts, shooting and then releasing a load with all the fucking games they got coming. But right now it's kind of dead, right? It's been dead for months, man.
Big load coming though.
Pause.
A very big load coming.
They've been edging for years. I don't know what you're talking about. They've been saying this.
I have not. I've been saying they have been satisfying me for years for quite some time. No. But look, so we mentioned Atomic Heart. I don't know why you would pay if you're a Sony customer.
Oh yeah, that will be on Game Pass. That's true.
If you're a Sony customer, enjoy paying for it. Redfall, Starfield.
Yeah.
Minecraft Legends.
Yeah.
I guess it's like one game a month. So we had Hi-Fi Rush in January, Atomic Heart in February, March. What do we got for March? Redfall? No,
Redfall's in May. I'm not sure if we have anything in March. Unless there's another MLB The Show that Sony no longer owns.
So that's just me that I feel like Game Pass has been lacking a little bit. You guys
I think you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think it's a little slow right now, but it's going to increase expeditiously. So.
I'll say we have different definitions of slow.
I know it was in my brain. I was like, I think it makes sense. What are you saying, Arthur?
I think we have different definitions of slow. because like I will buy games or download games or play games based on release date. Like if there's one game I want and there's another game coming out within a few weeks, I either will only choose to buy one and wait for the other one to go on sale, or I'll buy the bullet if there's like and just buy them both, knowing I won't touch the other game for a long time because I buy it just based on that date. That happens a lot. Right now I'm on the fence. We'll talk about more, but I'm on the fence with Dead Island and Survivor. But for me, like one hit or great game a month, that's for me, that's more than enough. Because like I'm gonna take more than a month to finish that. There's a solid chance I'm gonna take more than a month to finish that game, especially if it's like big RPGs like Starfield, like Redfall. Like Atomic Heart.
Because you're ironing out Hogwarts right now, so it makes sense for us. Like, yo, just give me a game a month. Like, I'm busy right now, dude, so I completely get that.
Like I said, because I lean towards more of RPG. I lean. I'm flip of a coin. Either I lean towards short indies, or like medium to medium length indies, like Ori and the Will of the Wisp, like Ori, where it's like a medium sized game. It's not long as like Fallout, but it's definitely not short. And so when I have those medium length indies and RPGs, that's right for me. I think the pace, I not even like as much as I like jump on Game Pass, just as a pace, I'm fine with that.
I think I look at it as I want a must play game coming to Game Pass. It's kind of I'm looking for. Like I was playing Xbox, habitually until God of War came out, and that made me plug in my PS5. And since I plugged in my PS5, I've been on that bitch nonstop. I put in my Xbox. I've been looking for a game. Like, what can I play? There is Hi-Fi Rush. It's not a bad game, And Atomic Heart, I'm hoping that it is a banger when it comes out, and no frame rate issues. I'm just looking for that game that's like, yo, let me go to Xbox that is a Game Pass game. I think I can find something to entertain me. I like Guardians of the Galaxy's on Game Pass. I still haven't played that game. For great things about it.
Dude, their back catalog, once they absorb Bethesda alone, like, dude, if you just pick their backlog alone, every fall, all the Fallouts, all the Elder Scrolls, ESO Online, because that's for me. So for me, when you say the pacing's not there, fair, but for me, that's a chance to go into their back catalog. Like we're talking about Yakuza, all of Yakuza is on Game Pass. Like, you know what I mean?
That is a highlight of Game Pass is the Yakuza series. Trust me. Like there is some games to play. I guess I could be eating, but I guess I want the shiny new toy, man. I want something new. At the end of the day.
I feel you, and I do. I'm really hoping for Atomic Heart to knock it out of the park too, because I just kind of staring at that one when I open up my Game Pass. It's like, oh, coming soon. So I hope it definitely knocks it out. So transitioning over, another thing that's coming out, and we're leaning over towards the other side of the wall when it comes to PlayStation, on the 22nd of February, PSVR2 will be officially out, available for people to purchase. And I kind of wanted to get everyone's thoughts on PSVR2, but of course I have to start the conversation with a funny thing, or just this makes sense for PlayStation.
On brand.
On brand, exactly. Thank you, Arthur. PSVR games don't work on PSVR 2.
No.
And PSVR 1 is not that old.
PlayStation's about generations, Josh. Let's not forget.
So let me read this, because I was just like, bro. Okay, so this is from CNET. It says here, in quote, PSVR games are not compatible with PSVR 2 because PSVR 2 is designed to deliver a truly next-gen VR experience, Nishino says. PSVR has much more advanced features like an all-new controller and haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, inside-out tracking, eye tracking, 3D audio, and 4K HDR. This means developing games for PSVR 2 requires a whole different approach than the original PSVR, end quote. I guess my thing is that, guys, if you guys knew this early, you were going to redefine the PSVR, why did you guys even make the PSVR 1? Just wait till you can make it the way you can make it. Because I would imagine that there's a few folks out there that bought PSVR 1 and it's just like a fucking, like, it's dead in the water. Like, it's dead weight. You know what I mean? So it's just... And I know for PSVR2, they do have some games that are supposed to be promising. There's supposed to be like 36 games or 40 games or something available for PSVR2. I don't know how many of them are actually crazy good. I know the Horizon game is supposed to be good, one of the better games on there. But I guess when it comes to the conversation of VR in general, this may not be Sony's fault necessarily. I know they've made some improvements on the device. Is it still too early for VR? Do you think just the technology just isn't there enough for it to be as captivating? And obviously price point, right? That's a whole other conversation. But when it comes to just the technology of VR, do you just think it's just too early that we should, like, I feel like at this point we're kind of getting into this, when the Wii came out, every other console wanted to do something like the Wii. You know what I mean? And then everyone else kind of failed.
You're talking about let's not ignore the highly successful, legendary, groundbreaking PlayStation Move. Because we all remember that. Yeah, that's still around. So here's the thing. So, Church, you talk about generations. Remember, including PlayStation Move, this is Sony's attempt number 3 at this type of stuff. Now, VR is definitely not in the thing of, the move into VR, but in terms of just, again, I would say going out of their lane of games and trying out new technology, this is kind of their third attempt at it. I think the Xbox was right to bury the Kinect. So the fact that Sony invested so much into the VR, one, and kind of abandoned it. Remember, we were just getting award-winning games for PlayStation VR as recently as last year. So to go from like that to like, all that's not playable in the new thing, I don't know.
So I like the PSVR too. I don't think it's too early. I kind of encourage different ways to play and innovation, especially where I feel like Nintendo is what always is trying to innovate every console generation. Keep things fresh. It may not be the best, but at least trying to bring something new, right? Whether it be motion controls, the rumble that we know from Nintendo that they invented as well. So I'm encouraging for Sony to step out the lane and still push forward for this thing. It sucks that there is no backwards compatibility and they only have 30 games at launch to play. It's weird. The only new game is Horizon. The rest of the lineup is games you can buy on PSVR that they made a PSVR2 version of. So you may own like Beat Saber, would say it is. But you have to buy Beat Saber for PSVR2. And that's just kind of shitty because you already own the game and you get no fucking credit.
No, call it a director's cut. Call it a director's cut.
Yeah.
It's not special edition.
Go to Shishimi VR director's cut. Just don't ask Kojima if it's an actual director's cut. Just don't worry about it.
I think the hardware is top of the line. You got a 4K OLED HDR display in your headset. It's actually a Vibe Rumble in the headset too, so that's kind of new. I don't think the Oculus has that too as well. They added a rumble to it, as well as with the motion controls, you have haptic feedback similar to the PS5. So I think hardware, they really jam packing that stuff to be competitive with everything else. Steep price tag, no doubt, right? Because it's $600. It's more than a PlayStation 5, and you need a PlayStation 5 to play. I'm excited.
Shit. I didn't know the price of the VR2.
Yeah,
it's $600.
Yeah, it's $600, bro. It's $600. It's steep, and you gotta spend $600.
Oh my god!
What's cool about it is that it's more powerful than the Oculus because you have to plug in the headset into your PS5 by USB-C. So it uses the power of the PS5 to play games, which is, it's going to be more fidelity and everything that you expect than what, the competitors have. It's just a lot of money to fork over with like no real schedule of games to come.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're rolling the dice on this. Yeah. And I think that shit sucks, man. So
and I would argue too, like 36 games at launch for a new console is a lot. You know what I mean? Like comparatively when it comes to like Xbox One when that came out or PlayStation, like they didn't have 36 games available for you to play. Like that's a lot of games, but to me, it's just the quality of the games. You know what I mean? So, and yeah, you mentioned a great point. The $600 is hard to swallow. You know what I mean? Especially for someone who just got a PS5 console, and they already spent they already spent that that amount of money. And games are $70, and you're thinking about getting the VR. And then how much are the games for VR? Are they $70 as well?
I actually don't even know the price tag for the VR
Oh,
games.
okay.
I'm sure it's $70.
It's probably
Man.
70, right? I would imagine.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just again, it's kind of like what I remember Arthur asked this question, like, who is this for? I guess it's for the big spender, but when it comes to just like this avenue of VR, I don't know. It just still seems niche to me. But what are your thoughts, Arthur?
Um, I'm just looking at because I'm not really familiar with the world of VR. Their price points are really good. Their price points are really good gatekeeper, to the general public.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to save up for a car. Because VR can go from. I'm looking at different prices. Looks like VR can range from anywhere from $400 to upwards of $1,500 for the Oculus Quest Pro. So I take it. So like earlier, the main Oculus right now is the Oculus 2. So at face value, if you hear not only church, ads of it's more powerful than the Oculus, it's more powerful than the Oculus 2. So if you have the $1,500 Oculus Pro, because if it is more powerful now, I will say that if this is more powerful than a $1,500 VR headset, then hey, Sony power to you. It just I don't know how niche it is because how popular. Like I don't know the numbers behind it, but for me, I'm at this category where like I like innovation. I agree with you. I do like innovation, but it needs to stick the landing to keep the funding going. Whether it's like NASA doing an experiment or Sony. These trials can't be all errors. So these trials have to have wins. They need to have that success to keep it going. So
what do you
it's
a failure? Like, or what parts of it is a failure to you?
I mean, like the move, like the Connect was a failure, the move was a failure, and they banned it rightfully so. And so whereas with PlayStation VR, I'm not really familiar with it. So on face value, I do not agree at all. The fact it's not backwards compatible, though I joke it's on brand for Sony. Now in a few years from now, let's say 2 years from now, because we usually give a console 2 years to really stretch its arms, have more of a catalog, have more of a fan base. I'm really curious to see how this goes because I wanted to try VR, but again, the pricing is a gatekeeper for a lot of people, including myself. And so 2 years from now, when there's more competition, I do like competition. So we'll see. I want to know how much we're looking at price wise with Oculus versus PlayStation VR versus Samsung if they're still doing their thing. I remember there was like a phase where everyone had everyone had their own VR headset. I think with this, I want to try it, but I'm not willing to buy it day one, not only because day one bugs, but also price point. But one thing I do want to ask: when you say the Rumble headset, like, I mean, like, am I like cool, like the Tua experience, CTEs left and right, or what are you talking about?
bro? We get that Mad 23, baby.
I mean,
once you get tackled,
I'm just saying on face value, the thought of like a going up here, that's like, if for our video viewers, I was like hard confused dog tilting my head, not angry or anything, just confused of like rumble stick or like rumble vibrations on my head. I don't know if I like that.
Well, I mean, it's an immersive experience. I don't think like if you're shooting a gun, your headset's gonna like rumble too. I feel like it's gonna be felt more in the hands. But I think it's the capability where they can pick and choose what to, introduce that feature in the game where it fits. I mean, at least they're trying, man. Like like, they're trying to like have all the immersion all together. I think Sony went with the PSVR2. When you have somebody like Facebook invest billions in virtual reality, right?
And they can't even design legs.
Yeah, you going, since you already have VR, you going to invest more in that space when you have like a billion, possibly $1 trillion company do the same time. I think that's why they keep it going. I don't know if PSVR is a failure. I know the people that have it love it. There is a niche audience. I'll say it's niche, but I don't know if VR2 I mean, I think they all want a VR2 because of the upgrade, but like whether or not they're gonna get it, man, it's just expensive.
Because it is a different beast, right? So you are literally looking at a new market, you're looking at a niche market, and then I think it's hard for us to determine what is actually a failure because we have to know those numbers around that market, right? Like how well did Oculus do? How well did all the other stuff do? So we just kind of comparing it against the other companies to see how it's going to be. So I think in comparison, I think in the small little market that they're competing with each other, it might be good, but when it comes to just it comparing to a console game or getting into a VR market, I think that's where things start to get at a standstill. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I would be curious to see what happens in the future because obviously cost of technology goes down when it comes to older technology. So unless they're gonna have a PSVR 3 next year, there should be some, there's a lot of potential for additional games too that they can try. Like I would love to play a fight night like boxing game via VR. Right, yeah. I like to play a fight night game in general because I haven't fucking played one for so many fucking years. But like the Half-Life series or something like where something that really gravitates people to the VR, like the Resident Evil 7 on VR, like that's brilliant. I mean, it's terrifying. I don't want to play it, but it's terrible. But that's like a great game to do for VR. So I think there is an avenue for it. I just think that niche market in that price tag, it's just a really hard barrier of entry for customers, to really get into it.
I'll just say just for price point, I'm on the PlayStation Store right now in their PlayStation VR2 section. For example, games that's like more of a port to it with like features, like for example, the Village, Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 8, $40. The Horizon Call the Mountain, that's not a port, that's a game made from the ground up, $60.
Okay.
Star Wars Tales from Galaxy's Edge, which I'm sure is just a banger for Star Wars fans, $50.
Okay.
So that's the other thing, again, because this is, as much as I say, hey, I don't own a PlayStation, so it's kind of not my world. VR is definitely, hey, I'm fish out of water here. But for you guys that maybe, or maybe more so church, that more hands-on with VR there, do you prefer, for example, like Village, like the success of Skyrim VR, like the success of Fallout VR, do you prefer games that's like a game built for like PC and console and is later ported successfully to the VR? So do you like those preferred ports, or do you more prefer those games made from the ground up for VR, like what we're going to start seeing from the Horizon Call the Mountain sort of game?
So it's twofold, two choices. I like games built from the ground up that have a God view. There's like VR games where you like in the sky and you like have a God view and you can just see the world and you can just kind of create and move stuff around. I think that perspective in gaming is really fun. It's just different than what you can experience on like a console. But in terms of games that what I like that I guess it is built from the game up is more so because I like what's that game called from Valve? Alexa, is that what's it called?
Half-Life Alyx.
Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah. And then even this Horizon, like I definitely think that Sony, for the single player games, they're going to release a single player game, and then with the 1 year time, they're releasing DLC for that single player game, along as a VR version of that. So I'm sure Last of Us 3 will come out. A year later, there'll be Last of Us VR, and along with the DLC for the main story. So I like those experiences where it continues something I like. So the Horizon one, I want to play because it's phenomenal, because I'm already invested into the world. So going to some place I love would be amazing. Even if they do like a VR Spider-Man game, I'm just Peter Parker taking pictures of like, villains or something. That would be cool too.
Jumping out buildings and shit, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. That's kind of high. I'll be scared.
Dude, real quick, at least what Church said, like, hey, that's high, that's scared. Dude, I have a fear of heights, and every now and again I have a game that reminds me. Man, the first time Victor and I climbed that first tower in Dying Light, I'm like, oh, I do not miss this. There are games where I just clench up that remind me, hey dude,
it's like, oh
hey
shit.
Dude, your fear of heights absolutely translates in the game. So you just have that clinch moment. Yeah. Dude, I'm not looking forward to climbing all these towers in Dying Light, dude. because that wind, there's that wind effect, and it's just like.
Get you, man.
I will say real quick, looking at the right now, there's 26 games. I don't have an exact number, I didn't count them all, but again, a lot of it's pre-order, versus like day one sort of thing. And I will say, Church, at least for you, if you prefer that over the high, God style overview, there's a few games that like that. I'm curious because I played this game on Game Pass a lot. There's going to be a Cities. The main game is called City Skylines. There's going to be a Cities VR, so it's kind of like picture Sim City, but with VR aspects. So now, now, mind you, I would say I don't know what it looks like, but on the PS Store, on the PlayStation Store now, there's not a single even screenshot, so I have no idea what the game's gonna look like. But I hope, Sim City with a VR, why wouldn't you be like road bonk as I hit my mic? Sorry, you know what I mean. So I'm excited. I'm kind of excited for it. I won't jump at the bit. Like, hey, people want to PayPal me, then I'll change my mind real quick.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how the technology is going to move forward in the industry, because right now it definitely seems niche, but it seems like there's a lot of fun opportunity. So I think I'm just curious to see what happens.
I was like, go ahead, Church.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get the PSVR2. I think I was talking to the wifey and she was interested in it. So if I get the okay from her, I guess we're gonna pick it up at some point. So
cool.
I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know. Yeah.
I was gonna say, as a soon-to-be PSVR2 investor, how are you gonna feel if more and more Sony directs or Sony State of Play's happening, and you don't see VR stuff, because we really haven't seen that much yet.
Yeah, it's a gamble. I would feel exactly like Xbox One owners, just like nothing on the horizon coming up at that point. It would be bad, because it's like, why do I have this system for? What can I play? And maybe there's more indie VR games coming out. I'm not really immersed in that world where I know like these small titles are coming. I would love a Civilization VR experience, or like even like an XCOM type of VR experience. So if I could get some games like that would be cool. But I don't know. So
yeah. I'm also curious to see real quick. I'm also curious to see how Sony involves indies with VR, because like, for example, when it comes to VR, I will say this: if you want more indie games with VR, go Oculus. The world's your oyster.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much the Sony Store will come into effect like that, because you look at, like, again, I'm looking at the VR, like the PlayStation Store catalog right now. There's only 26 games. That's including pre-orders. Whereas if you look at the Oculus and Steam, boom, like, again, the world's your oyster. So I'm curious of how much we're gonna see, how much of those come into the Sony Store, if at all.
Yeah, I'm actually against. I prefer quality over quantity. I think with VR, it's important that you gatekeep those, just don't flood the market with like a Nintendo Switch. If the VR experience, every game you play, you want to be a good experience for the user. Yeah, I think Sony has to strongly gatekeep what's good for VR on the platform. So like, this is the best place to play, and there's always a consistent experience, as opposed to having everything.
Exactly, because you don't want a situation where like, I could just fucking play this on console, or I could have played this on something else. Like, why am I playing this on VR? You know what I mean? So
I think that's a shot for me and for them.
So that being said, quality game, Tales from Galaxy's Edge, coming soon.
Okay.
All right. All right.
Star Wars is a low-hanging fruit. You just cannot punch it.
So I wanted to transition into one item before skipping to the topic of the show. So I found this interesting here. It says ex Apex Legends and Titanfall leads form a new studio, Wildlight Entertainment. This is from Video Games Chronicle. It says here in quote, the team, which is almost entirely made up of developers that have previously worked on Apex Legends or the Titanfall series, is currently hiring for several senior roles. Leading Wildlight Entertainment is Chad Grenier, former game director of Apex Legends, who also served on the teams of both Titanfall games and the original Modern Warfare series prior to Respawn's boss Vince Zampella split from Infinity Ward. Grenier is joined by multiple other former Respawn developers who all left within the last 14 months. According to reports, the Titanfall single-player experience had been in the works for Apex Legends but was canceled this month. Alevi is joined at Wildlight by Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends lead creator Carlos Pineda, design director Jason McCord, and art director Jose Zavala, environment art director Robert Twabe, and lead technical artist Michael Cook, and several others. We are a new fully funded entertainment studio hyper-focused on creating big, bold, original gaming universes of epic quality and scale. We've been quietly working on a new IP for some time, and while it'll be a bit before we can say more, we're beyond excited of what's more to come. End quote. I find this really interesting as far as seeing a lot of these developers from big companies forming these superpower studios to make the games that they want, because I do remember when it was kind of came out of nowhere, it was like, oh, like they canceled that Titanfall Apex whatever game that was supposed to be coming out. It's like, oh, that sucks. So it's just interesting to seeing a lot of these leads, they're forming their own studios. So part of me is wondering, is it just one of those things where it's this typical corporate culture where it's like, hey, we're focused on this, we can't, like, this isn't our direction for the company. And as the standard gamer, passionate mindset, well, fuck this, we'll do our own thing and create these studios. But it seems like in today's standards, we're seeing a lot more of that. Because remember, Arthur, there was another studio, a power studio that we talked about last year, that's forming their own thing too. I know one of the PUBG guys, he's creating like this crazy world.
That's a one-to-one scale game of a planet.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, what are your guys' thoughts on as far as this project that Wildlight Studios is making? And then two, do you guys think we're going to see more of these mergers of these studios, and if it'll be positive for the gaming industry? I think it's kind of interesting. I'll start with you, Church.
Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, I love Respawn. I think they were like the best studio at EA for a long time. I like Apex, I like Titanfall, I like Star Wars. With those leads that moved over to Battlefield, I think it's cool that they're going to their own studio and starting their own project because there's a lot of talent. And when the head of those talented studios leave, they usually take the team with them. Now, unfortunately, when EA buys studios like a BioWare, it's BioWare in name only, right? It's like the makers of those video games probably moved over to different studios. And this gives me hope for the gaming industry because the commentary of these big acquisitions happening from Xbox or PlayStation, it's like, dang, all these giant corporations own all the IPs, it's going to be bad for gaming. And I think this shows you that once something gets bought, those head creators and their team, it's so much easier now to start a studio, to get funding through GoFundMe. And the technology is so advanced, you can make great indie games like Hades, like Tunic, that keeps the industry fresh. So I think it's a good sign for me for the longevity of the industry as a whole and the stability of it at the same time, that they get a chance to make a new IP and, still create new studios that may become as big as the studios that we know today. I think it's a sign of the changes of the industry still growing. So I think it's a positive thing. Maybe not for Respawn at EA because like who's making those games now, but we know the talent follows like creative directors at the end of the day. So
definitely. What are your thoughts, Arthur?
Number one, a company I never heard of before yesterday, Palladium, that shoe company, their ads are all over the place on my phone now. So there's that.
Oh no.
I'm just saying, yeah, the past few sites I've gone to for keep up with the articles we're talking about. It's like, oh hey, Palladium. Oh, wait a second. But for this, I'm happy about. I will, as much as I don't like EA, I feel I'm in the right for. Titanfall Respawn and the gameplay of that was so fun. As a genre, battle royales aren't my thing, but again, play style, if I had to pick one, it is Apex. I mean, I love Titanfall 1 too. Not Titanfall 1. I already didn't get my hands on the Titanfall 1. But Titanfall 2, like having that campaign, the multiplayer, still one of the best April Fools DLCs of Optimus Prime coming to Titanfall 2. I still remember that commercial.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that was real.
Oh man, they had the voice too, man. They had the voice. And so to hear that they were kind of going back to the roots of a Titanfall like game, because to a point the lore is based in the Titanfall universe. Like one of the, I say newer, but I've been on a touch, so for me new is like they could have added her, I feel like a year ago now. Valkyrie, she is like the daughter or like granddaughter of a pilot or something, so it is in the lore of the world of Titanfall. This is like story wise, Apex isn't Apex like a super epilogue like way after to the Titanfalls are dead or something like that. So to know they're going back to that and it got canceled, that sucks, because that again, there are games where EA just pumped. The EA is like, going back to, sometimes looking away from like their, the microtransactions and do good games. Star Wars Squadrons, Fallen Order. I know we have Survivor on the corner. This could another game in that pantheon of just really good, not new IPs, but additions to their catalog, away from battle royales, away from their microtransaction, focuses. And so with that being said, the creators of this, a lot of heads behind it, making their own studio. Like Church said, thankfully it's easier nowadays. And BioWare, Drell and I have praised BioWare a million times. And to go from the BioWare we knew to playing Anthem, or like, this is not it. This is not the BioWare we know. Like I recently replayed Knights of the Republic. That is not the same team. And so to see these heads kind of form their own Avengers, their own Justice League, their own crew of these studios, it makes me very happy. For more reasons than one, I like seeing new IP. I like seeing new indie, and I want to see what they do. I forget the name of their studio now. I feel like we want to keep track of this. I have like a marker board of like, what are these guys doing? So whereas a lot of BioWare people made another studio, I forget what that one's called.
Yeah.
I'm eager for this one, because clearly the market's there. Like when you hear both like Titanfall lovers like me, that's like, I'm pro Titanfall but not really great Apex. This was their unifier. This was the olive branch of a bridge of like, hey man, I'm not the biggest Apex guy. People might think Titanfall 2 is overhyped, but hey, this game could have been it to like just boom, have the player base there. And if we get a fraction of that, hopefully in this next project, I cannot wait to see them on the stage of E3 or a PAX or a Gamescom, or summer fan fest or something that Jeff Keighley hosts. Because I want to say, was it one of the fan fest last year where Jeff Keighley like just surprisingly dropped like a ton of new announcements? I would love to see them on their next that next list.
Definitely. No, and I think you make a lot of good points. One of them, we do need to start tracking this, because this is definitely, there's definitely like that yarn connect, it's like that meme, like we need to start tracking this. But then I am excited about this too, because, kind of like taking like these visions like into their own hands versus, waiting on a corporate agenda. You know what I mean? It's like, let's work on the games that we know that people will be passionate about and want to play, and really trusting in their own vision, right? You know what I mean? So I think sometimes sometimes you get that ability to do so with certain risks, and then sometimes you just have to just kind of do it yourself. So I'm excited for this. I'm curious to see where this lands. And anything else on your end, Church, before we transition?
No, I mean, I just kind of like echoing that it sucks that these Titanfall titles got canceled, right? It's one of those things that, EA does what EA does. Maybe they didn't feel like they can make more money than they projected with those titles. So if you over there can't create the game experience that you want, you're going to have to leave the company and just kind of do it on your own, unfortunately. And it sucks, because we go through this cycle with EA all the time where they finally get a good studio and a good game, and then they'll nickel and dime everything out of it and just destroy the IP and then get something else, over and over again. So,
and then just the fact of doing it yourself, like that is a scary thing, right? You know what I mean? Like it's definitely easier said than done. I mean, hell, even talking about Cuphead, right? Because Cuphead, they had to they had to provide the funding for that game themselves. You know what I mean? And they put a lien on their house. You know what I mean? Like they almost lost their home, and luckily, it was a huge success. You know, and I think they're okay now. But just the fact of in 2023 being able to try to work on a game that a good amount of people are going to like and buy and want to play. I mean, gamers, we're some of the most analytical, detail oriented, you know, picky people out of like any type of market, you know what I mean? And rightfully so, because that's just the nature of the industry, the nature of the customer, of a video game customer. So it's really risky to do that, you know? So I tip my hat off to these people that are like, no, like, I think we can make something that people are going to enjoy. Like, I think that's a really like risky but dope thing. So
in any industry, betting on yourself is not only courageous, it's risky. I mean, as much as I'm like excited and biasly hyped for these buyouts, um, you know, again, betting on yourself, these indie companies, they are risky. So it's absolutely, it's worth it when you see like a team of 4 people winning all these awards for Among Us, crying in front of all the people watching at the video game awards. But to get from A to Z, there's a lot of unknown in between. And I do like that we're hearing a phrase a lot more now in gaming coming from these buyouts, is like passion project. Yes, we heard it with Kojima and Xbox, but to be fair, Kojima can like throw a dart at the wall and anybody will grab that. I mean, if you hear Kojima say passion project, boom, I want to, Nintendo will throw money at that. You know what I mean?
Not everyone has that power, to your point.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't Kojima. So, so again, when you hear a lot of these people say passion projects, it's like, it gets me happy for the indie. It gets me happy that knowing, even though yes, buyout is the new trendy thing, that this area of gaming is still risky. It's exciting to see them succeed.
Most definitely. I want to skip to the topic of the show because this is a very interesting thing. We were talking about Game Pass earlier before, and earlier this week there is a very interesting ad. I would say ad, but it was something that came up across Instagram. I was going to try to look at it. It was an IGN ad on Instagram, but I'll just skip back over to the article itself. So it says here, and I want to say this is Video Games Chronicle, if I'm not mistaken, but it says that for the topic of the show, Xbox clarifies its own admission that Game Pass cannibalizes some game sales. So this is GameSpot. So let me read this article here. So it says here in quote, Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer himself has spoken openly about how there is no undefined path for the deals it makes for Game Pass releases. He told The Verge that Microsoft Game Pass deals are, in quote, are all over the place, and he understands that this might sound, in quote, unmanaged. In some cases, Microsoft will completely fund the development costs of the game, and the studio can go sell their game on rival stores like PlayStation and Steam or at retail, while Microsoft enjoys the benefit of having another Game Pass game. And quote, for them, they've protected themselves from many downside risks. The game is going to get made, then they will have all the retail upside. We have the opportunity for the day and date, and that would be a flat fee payment to the developer, he said. It says the economic realities of Game Pass may never become clear, in part because Microsoft will not, of course, publicly share the terms of its deals with developers and publishers. At a higher level, Microsoft doesn't even disclose Xbox console sales numbers anymore, as the company instead focuses on ambiguous engagement metrics that can be spun and positioned to Microsoft's benefit, end quote. So I have some questions for you guys. We talked about last week on the show, $70. Is that valid to spend? And a lot of us were like, yo, is it on Game Pass? Is it on Game Pass? Can I pay a flat fee and play that bitch for free, basically? Now, and I hear a bunch of other administrations and FCC and all this other stuff as far as people really lean on Microsoft on this deal that they're trying to close with Activision. A lot of people freaking out, like, hey, this is going to fuck up the whole market for a bunch of other companies. You know what I mean? So the vision of them themselves saying that they cannibalize sales across the board because so many people are invested in Game Pass. First question is, I can't imagine, even though they are gaining market share, right? We had this conversation on the podcast before as far as Xbox does a great job on gaining market share, similar to Amazon, right? Amazon loses a lot of money just to gain market share, to get people on their app, on their website, etc. And to have the game where you can just pay $14.99 and play the game as much as you want until they just don't have it available on Game Pass anymore, there's got to be some type of loss somewhere, right? Do we imagine an increase on Game Pass subscription? Do we potentially see that this year? And then my second question is the question you asked, Church, but I think it'd be interesting to ask it again. Do we think the Activision deal will in fact happen? Because I didn't imagine so much heat and pushback, right? Like I imagined some type, and I definitely imagined it from Bobby Kotick, because he doesn't have a job if it closes, right? So it makes sense for him. It makes sense for his board, for his shareholders, and all those fuckers. But the fact that other people across the world are like, hey, we really need to look at this, and then them talking about cannibalizing sales, it seems to be a potentially more concerning issue global. You know what I mean? So what are your guys' thoughts on potentially Xbox Game Pass may increase just because the sales in general or profit? It seems to be, it could be more, right? It just makes sense for the company if they did that. And then as far as the Activision deal, like, are you guys still sticking to your guns that it's gonna happen? I guess I'll start with you, Arthur.
So do I think it's gonna happen? Do I think the Activision is gonna happen? I think yes. And if it doesn't, I'll be just surprised. I mean, like, like how many more entertainment properties does Disney have to buy before we're like, that's fine. ESPN, that's okay. The O Network, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, how many more entities does Disney have to, has Disney bought in the past like decade, where it's just been like, yeah, okay, Marvel, cool. And so, which is for me going off of that, that's why I thought there was so much pushback of like this Activision Blizzard thing. I'm like, maybe because it was a dollar amount, maybe because George Lucas was like, get this away from me. 3.5 billion. Now it's like, now all of a sudden it's like, the Federal Trade Commission here is like, oh, 660? Oh, we gotta look into this, guys. So that's my side of it. In terms of like the whole FTC thing. In terms of Game Pass, so Game Pass cannibalizing game sales. I have no idea why this is news breaking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point of Game Pass. So you don't have to buy the game. Like, that's the whole purpose. So now there are thankfully wonderful exceptions in the sense that like Hi-Fi Rush outsold Forspoken on Steam, which I think is hilarious. But like, again, for me, like the whole reason I got into Game Pass was I want to play Crackdown. I want to play Sea of Thieves, and I want to play State of Decay. Oh, they're coming on Game Pass. Oh, cool. All these 3 games I don't have to buy. So again, for me, that's like the biggest draw in saving money. Like, again, I'm talking about, we're talking about Atomic Heart, Redfall, Starfield. I'm not going to buy these games. I'm going to play my Game Pass. These are $70 games. I'm not going to pay $210 for 3 games. No. So again, for me, from that side of it, somebody that's been playing Game Pass for years, this news breaking thing of Xbox cannibalizes game sales. Yeah, I mean, okay. But now in terms of the price of Game Pass going up, I don't want to, but I can't see a realistic thing where they might not try to get, their bottom line up from just fronting nearly $70 billion. You know what I mean? So that's, again, I don't want to. I'm happy with that $15 price. I've been used to that $15 price. Netflix is bringing up their price. So they're getting rid of 100 million users because of password sharing, and they're bringing the price up, which is okay. So again, cannibalizing. I don't know how that's news breaking. That's the thing. And again,
I guess it's a news break because Microsoft themselves said it. I think that's why it's. I think
Oh.
that's why it's a thing because they
Like,
said,
holy
"Yeah,
shit.
we're fucking shit up." You know what I mean? Like we knew that. Like we're all saving a buck, but the fact that like it's like saying Bill Gates like say like, "Oh yeah, like we're like they said something." He says something crazy, and it's his platform.
I will say them saying it is definitely you're right because Joe, when I typed in Game Pass Cannibalizes, that's literally the title of everyone's article. GameSpot, Game Rant, PC Gamer,
Yeah.
Kotaku, Eurogamer, all of them's like cannibalizes, 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 cannibalizes. I'm like, okay, I guess that was a hot buzzword of like, ooh, cannibalizes it. But for me, again, we talk about market share. Not to go on too long before church here, is it for me, at least for indie, it gets a name out there because now you're gonna start seeing of like from the makers of Tunic, from the makers of Valheim, from the makers of this, from the makers of this. And I would argue those ads, wouldn't mean nothing if they didn't have that success of the player base that would have got there because of Game Pass. So again, in terms of money, they said Game Pass pays the bottom line. There's no risk. They pay for the development. It's a guaranteed funding. Whereas everything after the fact, it's like, that's where it's like the money is not really there because of the sales thing. So that's my thoughts on that. For now, face value.
Okay, what are your thoughts, Church?
So there's a lot to unpack. So I'm gonna start with the acquisition. My initial thoughts is the acquisition will go through. How they will go through, it's still up in the air. It could change form. Like with Disney, when they bought like FX or some of those companies, like Arthur brought up, they did de-investment, right? Well, basically you can have these IPs, but you can only make movies and you can't do TV shows. Like they kind of split up the company. So, same thing with ATT and back in their day.
Yeah.
So
I forgot Disney bought Fox. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they could divest Activision and another third party come in and get certain IPs from them, and Microsoft still gets Call of Duty, Diablo, whatever they want. But I think they're still going to get. I still think it's going to go through. I think Game Pass's title is so catchy is because Microsoft is saying anything, to make it seem like it's not a threat. Um, that Game Pass is not a threat to PlayStation. It's actually hurting us, and therefore there's no reason why you should be against this acquisition coming through. So I think it's just a tactic for like the European, like the CMA or whatever those FTC trade companies that are going through it. That's just my thoughts. Now in terms of whether or not what's taking that at face value, is it hurting Xbox? I don't know. The business models change. My gut feeling, and I don't know, they have to have some type of analytics. They must have done some cost analysis where they look at every Xbox user, figure out how many games do they buy from our digital store a year, right? And then how many games do they buy, new games they buy in a year some way, whether they're tracing like game desk traffics, and there's like maybe they only buy 2 or 3 games a year, so we can make up that money through Game Pass. So maybe it's not really costing us much the money this way. We can make more money by having a subscription service. Yes, the service will go up. I mean, Game Pass Ultimate is $15, but regular Game Pass is only $10, right? So you don't need to have gold, so it will go up. All subscription service do increase, and that's fine as long as the quality's there. As long as I can play my games that I want and something keeps coming down the pipeline, I don't mind coughing up an extra dollar or two. Like, I'm even okay for $20, on a subscription fee. I'll pay it. It's interesting because Game Pass is a business model. I can see where it works for Microsoft. It's hard to see how it works for the developers, right?
Yeah, or the
You can
publisher.
get the funding for developing the game, right? And that's cool. And you can sell that. Maybe it's an Xbox exclusive, and maybe you can sell that game on PlayStation and Switch. But I gotta imagine the business line of credit is that you made game A. Game A sold this much copies, so we're making a sequel. Let me get a loan from the bank based off of projections. And you don't get the same number anymore if Xbox is taking your sales, right? At that point. So now, like, now instead of 10 million, now you're only showing 5 million because you only sold 5 million on PlayStation. You have nothing on Xbox. So, like, how do you move that needle or get more funding that type of way. I think for business why, that's why everything is a custom deal for any publisher they work with, because you got to take those into risk and considerations. I don't know if it's good for gaming or bad for gaming in the long end, but I think at the end of the day, it's working for now. Games can get funding. Xbox can get exclusive titles, to fill out the Game Pass archive, whether it be for long term or short. And I think it's good for business, man. At the end of the day, so
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot more pressure when it comes to Game Pass. So as far as certain games not being on Game Pass that long, like not as long as they should be. So like if I think we're going to see deals, I think there's going to be potential deals with Microsoft saying, look, I don't want this on Game Pass, longer than 30 days or whatnot. But it also depends on the game too, right? Because we've heard of companies that said, yeah, that does nothing for us if it's on Game Pass. Like there's the companies that say that verbatim. So there's got to be some type of a downfall, a disadvantage to the developer and or publisher if it is on Game Pass compared to them just selling it flat right. So I think for those companies that maybe are open to doing Game Pass, I think when it comes to it being timed on there or being pulled from the store, I could see those things happening. Obviously, like you said, cost of it going up. I could see that as well. But yeah, I think there's going to be a little more pressure on Game Pass. You know what I mean? Like I think when it comes to like Steam's going to be fine. Steam. You know what I mean? Like Steam makes a ridiculous amount of money, and doesn't bat an eye. But yeah, I just find it to be really interesting as far as just, the fact that, times have changed, and it's interesting. It's interesting to me as far as like trying to understand like how the publisher, like the cut of the, like to the publisher, like how does that work? Cause we know the developer cost, that makes sense. But back in the day when when we would spend $60 for a game, like a majority of that must have went to the publisher, right? And then the developer got a chunk, you know what I mean? And then a little bit came to whoever sold the game at the store, whatever company. But a majority of that must have went to the publisher. So when you have a Game Pass game, like, is that still the case? Does that change? So I guess I'm very curious as far as for those deals, as far as how does that happen? A secondary question, which isn't necessarily connected to the. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to, because I don't know if it's necessary. I believe what companies say Game Pass doesn't do nothing for the game, right? Like some of those deals are based off of downloads, right? Per download, so you get paid, even if nobody plays it. If you download it, you get paid off of it, right? But there is a windfall for games in general. There's a shelf life. When a game initially releases, they're making the majority of the money in the first 2 months, right? At $60, and then it slowly declines over time. So there is an incentive like, hey, we've sold all we could on Game Pass. We're making no more money off this game because nobody's buying it. Put it on Game Pass. Microsoft will cut you a check for whatever that maybe $2-3 million. That's more to your company. And now the game's over here for such and such time. So I feel like there is some incentives to do that because games eventually are not selling anymore. You're not making any more money off of that product. It's just sitting there hoping that somebody spends the full price, and you can quickly do a year contract of 9 months and just get some money coming in that way.
And I'll say speaking of that, and by the way, for the record, sorry if Steve Roof, I was staring at my phone. I was doing a little research on myself. Looks like for the past year plus, I'm into literally February of 2002 now. All but one game I've spent money on Xbox has been from Game Pass games leaving Game Pass. So
I bought a few.
And so then here's the other thing too. It's worth checking that leaving Game Pass section because if you buy the game while it's on Game Pass, it's on sale. And the other thing I noticed with myself too, I buy the DLC too. Because I'm like, oh, I like this game. I haven't beat it yet. I won't beat it in the time. I won't beat it by the time it leaves Game Pass. Oh, there's a DLC for it. Well, if I'm already thinking about buying the game, I might as well get that DLC to get more of that. Like Drell, I bought Aliens Fireteam Elite and the DLC. because that game was going to leave Game Pass before I was going to beat the campaign, which was really fun. I love Aliens Fireteam Elite. I wish it got more love when it came out, but thankfully for me, I was able to play it and enjoy it and end up spending my money because of Game Pass. And I personally have a lot of examples like that, like Gravekeeper, Lost in Random, all these other things where, well, maybe not Lost in Random, but that's another thing. But like I said, a lot of my purchases have been, games leaving Game Pass, like Hades. I bought Hades because I wasn't gonna buy it at first because Game Pass, and then it's leaving Game Pass. I didn't buy the game. I haven't really finished the game, but I know at one point I'm gonna play it again. I'll buy it while it's on Game Pass, so it's on sale. So boom, I bought the game. It wasn't full price, so I get to save money for me. And that's the other thing, so other than face value, when I was earlier mentioning, you see ads up from the makers and so, there is money there. Now, I would argue, that's definitely might not be the same would it be if it just dropped day one in the store, but the option is there. And for, again, someone like me, where all but 1 to 2 of my purchases of the past year were all games leaving Game Pass plus their DLC. Nobody saves the world. Gravekeeper, so that's for someone like me. Like, I like indie. I can't beat it in time. It's gonna leave Game Pass. So there's kind of like an incentive. Like, there's like a half incentive. So we're talking about like how games are gonna be on Game Pass potentially for a lot less. So for someone like me, I might be like, oh man, I love this game. Really love this game. Oh, I'm not gonna be about having this Game Pass. Well, I'll buy it, and because it's on Game Pass, it won't be a full price.
Do we think that's a commonality for the mass population, though? Do you think the majority of people are actually going to do that? Because we're gamers, so like it makes sense for you to do that. But for the average Joe Schmo, do we think they're actually going to do that for a lot of games?
I think people spend money on things that they enjoy. So if you enjoy the game enough and it's leaving, and you want to continue playing it, you already know you like it, so you're going to pick up that game. Or you may just buy the sequel that comes out in the next game. I played the first one. I know this one's going to be a good caliber. And similar to Arthur, like I played Arkham Knight for the very first time. Like I think back maybe 6 months ago at this point or something. I bought all the DLC for Arkham Knight because I got the base game. But I think I spent like $10, $15 on the DLC for everything because I enjoyed the game so much. And so like there is a conversion that's going there. Now, if you can't afford it, you just can't afford it, right? And that's fine. Like, I always say gaming is a luxury. It's an expensive hobby. But at the same time, I think there is a conversion of Game Pass users to sales, whether that be via buying the game or DLC that companies are getting, as opposed to it just sitting there, not making no money. Like, that's just money on the shelf to me. I don't know, man. So.
Yeah. And I want to say back to something I mentioned earlier, how Hi-Fi Rush outsold Forspoken. Guys, Hi-Fi is on Game Pass for PC, and people still bought it in droves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was excited. I mean, I'm not like hitting on Forspoken, but I was happy to hear about it in, arguably indie.
Oh man, hate on it.
Game Pass.
No, you're right. You're right though.
So what, like, again, shocking for me, when I heard how that Hi-Fi Rush was outselling Forspoken on Steam, the first thing went through my mind was like, do they not know it's on PC Game Pass? Or again, there's
people just like to support developers. Also, to your point, like they find a channel, like, yo, this is really good. Let me throw them some bucks. Like, here you go. I appreciate it. So,
dude.
Side note for Steam, Sons of the Forest is the highest on the wish list for Steam. And it's on my fantasy card. Just saying.
Hey, I know what game was on the highest wish list before yours. Hogwarts, baby. And the church, do you see
the Wild? What are you talking about? I don't
know. No. But yeah, Church, you mentioned supporting this. One game I think you would like. I would love for us to play Coop is Deep Rock Galactic. Deep Rock Galactic is a game that just keeps coming. Yeah. It keeps coming up on my radar. You mentioned the support. There's literally a bundle for $150 that says the thank you bundle or the supporter bundle. It just straight up like, hey, I think it's like $150 or $2, and you just get like a few skins. And I love that. I respect it. I bought it immediately. I'm just like, hey, that's up front. Hey man, $2, you get a few things. I'm like, I'm like, I like this. I'm not saying I feel bad, but like, I'm not buying the game, but I'm playing the game. And then there's like a $2 whatever bundle. That's, the supporter bundle. Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah, man. Especially, I think the company's going back a little bit. Well, is an incentive to be on Game Pass. You can make money on Game Pass if you got a new game, a sequel of your game on coming out of it. Put it on Game Pass 6 months prior to that to expand your audience. Potentially. There's so many, and it doesn't cost you anything as long as Microsoft wants to do the business. They're going to do the business with you, and just like why not? So.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of it's like Spotify for video games. You know what I mean? It's just like flat fee. You get market share. Everyone sees it. They're able to participate at a low rate comparatively. So it's like it makes sense. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we were talking about this briefly in our chat before we end the show. As far as just how the lack of, when it comes to, as gamers, we're all familiar, at least growing up, having this ownership of our product, right? Of our video games, of our library of games. And it's funny just kind of looking at it in hindsight, where once the digital age happened, ownership is gone. Like from a technical legal incentive. Like when it comes to downloading games, whether it's on Steam, Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, while it's great, we have a digital library. We can go to these games as much as we can and play them. The drawback of it actually being our own library and category, we don't own those games. Spotify, you don't own that stuff if you don't pay the service. So it's just, for me being an old man, I'm like, no. Like I just went over a friend's house and he's got a scaffold of games that he has purchased, wrapped. He was in the military, so like he's bought games everywhere across the world, but like he owns a plethora of games. He owns a mini GameStop. So it's just kind of interesting where it's just kind of like, man, like I miss the days of just like having a wall of games and these are my games and fuck everybody else. And Game Pass and everything else, just eradicates that, where it's just like, no one cares about that. This is the new age. You see it, play it, press the button, have fun, so it's kind of funny.
In terms of like market share and just getting your name out there, can you imagine, once Xbox gets their Game Pass stick going, and all of a sudden, your little indie game is just like on this like paired with the stick, linked with the Samsung TV, because there's that one model. Now it's not cheap at all. It's like 8K. But there is like that one TV right now that does have Xbox Game Pass built in. And for someone like me, I would love to see like Deep Rock Galactic in like that next ad. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
It's a lot. I'm not saying overwhelming, but it feels like, it's just like Game Pass is like just absorbing everything. But that's what it is for me. Like, it gives me a chance to like these games, like these companies, and these companies I never heard of, and to either support them in the games they've made, or again, potentially, as we discussed, hey, they're leaving Game Pass soon. Oh, I wasn't gonna buy it, but now I got to. And hey, because their DLC's out, there's DLC coming out, but you can buy the season pass now, but it's discounted. Let's go.
Yeah. Any lasting things, Church, before we close out here?
I don't know. I mean, I think we covered everything. I can't think of anything else.
It's funny for me, for games that go, I'm just like, well, see ya. It's like I'm too busy, but it's just the beauty of Game Pass. At least I was able to play it. You know what I mean? So it's just, it works for the casual and hardcore gamer. You know what I mean? So it's just wild how that works. So that's gonna wrap it up. That's gonna wrap it up here for the Gamer Slide podcast. Again, each and every Friday/Saturday, discussing all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell, and of course, I got to thank Arthur and Church, my co-hosts here in the show, killing the game.
That's me.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you next week.